Martha's 58-year-old knees protested as she crouched beside a storm drain, but she barely noticed. Nestled in soggy leaves was a jewel-green Pacific tree frog, thriving against all odds. Seattle's concrete jungle had swallowed so much, yet here was proof. Life fought back. She grinned, scribbling in her battered field notebook, its pages a mosaic of urban bird migrations and farmers market gossip. Her city's wild heartbeat, mapped in coffee stains and slangy notes only her fam would get. Climate dread still lurked, but today she was a Martha's 58-year-old knees protested as she crouched beside a storm drain, gripping her field notebook like an old friend. Inside, smudged ink mapped months of urban bird sightings, juncos darting between skyscrapers, a lone osprey circling Lake Union. She'd started tracking them after retirement left her untethered, her grown kids scattered like dandelion seeds. Climate headlines had gnawed her, that relentless ticker tape of doom, until her hands needed work her heart couldn't fake. Seattle's drizzle misted her glasses as she fumbled for binoculars, nearly toppling into a puddle. Grace had never been her forte. Fam still teased her about that time she face-planted Pike Place Market chasing runaway cherries. But clumsiness couldn't dull thrill when she spotted a rufous hummingbird, its wings a blur against a Starbucks logo. Her notebook fluttered open to a dog-eared page where her late mother's recipe for blackberry pie once lived, now repurposed for migration patterns. Farmers market meetups with fellow trackers kept her grounded. They traded tips over rain-spotted coffee cups, their laughter cutting through eco-grief like sunshine through marine layer fog. Martha's deepest fear wasn't irrelevance. It was becoming a bystander in her own life, like those forgotten umbrellas tangled in gutters after every storm. But here, scribbling data that scientists actually used, she felt like a conductor guiding tiny, feathered travelers home. By summer, her maps bloomed with color-coded routes, proving even concrete jungles pulsed with wild resilience. Knees be damned, she'd keep counting. Martha's 58-year-old knees protested as she crouched beside a storm drain, squinting scuff marks that might have been raccoon prints, or just city grime. 3 weeks into tracking urban wildlife for a community science project, her field notebook already bore coffee stains, and a crumpled corner from that time, she tripped over a root chasing what turned out to be a very bold squirrel. Laughing herself helped. So did farmers market crew, who'd adopted her after spotting her peering into bushes with binoculars. Now, they saved her bruised apples for pie and called her Ranger Creator with affectionate teasing. One drizzly Tuesday, while sketching a flicker's wing patterns near Pike Place, a voice behind her said, "That's a juvenile. See how markings blur?" Turning, Creator found a woman in a thrifted raincoat holding out a thermos. Lynn, a retired ornithologist, became her unlikely mentor. By week's end, they'd transformed Martha's scribbles into a fledgling migration map, overlaying bird routes with construction zones and green spaces. Each inked line felt like stitching a wound she hadn't named. Eco-grief unraveling into purpose. Lynn's crew met Sundays under a tarp strung between maples, swapping data like gossip. Woman learned to ID sparrows by song, though her first solo attempt mistook a bus engine for a grosbeak. "Your fam now," chuckled a teen with magenta hair, nudging her toward better ear-training apps. Nights once heavy with doom scrolling became filled with cross-referencing crow roosts, her notebook thickening with pressed leaves and grocery list poetry. February 3rd, 6 juncos, one suspiciously plump rat, hope like a stubborn weed. When spring migrations peaked, their ragtag team presented findings to city planners. Martha's hands shook holding graphs showing how streetlights disoriented thrushes, but Lynn's wink steadied her. Afterward, over cardamom buns, someone called their work a love letter to survival. Martha tucked phrase into her notebook's spine, where it belonged, not as an ending, but a crease in something still unfolding. Martha's 58-year-old knees protested as she crouched beside a storm drain, binoculars dangling from her neck like an awkward pendant. 3 weeks into her urban bird migration project, She'd already filled half her field notebook with scribbles. Red-winged blackbirds avoiding construction noise, a disoriented warbler circling a glass skyscraper. But today's page stayed stubbornly blank. Doubt gnawed her. What difference did scribbling about sparrows make when glaciers kept crumbling? She shoved herself upright with a grunt, knees popping like bubble wrap. Across street, a barista waved from coffee shop where Martha's bird fam gathered every Saturday after farmer's market. They'd laugh over misidentified gulls and swap tips for tracking crows through downtown canyons. But today, guilt prickled. Shouldn't she be lobbying politicians instead of tallying pigeons? A rustle in hawthorn hedge snapped her focus back. A tiny shape darted between branches, a bush tit, its feathers fluffed against drizzle. Martha's pencil hovered. Then she noticed nylon thread tangled around its leg, a frayed ghost of some kid's kite. Her throat tightened. Useless. She couldn't even untangle one bird, let alone fix a planet. Wind slapped her notebook shut. Martha glared at that battered leather cover she'd carried since her first Audubon hike decades ago. Suddenly, she was 28 again, pressing flowers between its pages while her professor scoffed, "Sentimental data won't save ecosystems." She exhaled hard. Maybe not, but that notebook outlasted Professor's tenure. She lunged toward hedge, ignoring twinge in her hip. Bush tit froze as her fingers, still steady, thank God, worked not loose. When it zipped away, she marked sighting with a shaky star. Later, over Beet Salad Market, she'd added to Community Migration Map, that kaleidoscope of sticky notes tracking winged refugees through city. Rain blurred her ink as she wrote. Bush tit, 10:17 a.m., freed from human crap. Not exactly scientific, but for first time all morning, her pencil didn't feel like a toothpick trying to hold back a flood. Martha's 58-year-old knees protested as she crouched beside a rain-slicked park bench, field notebook balanced on one thigh. A flash of movement. A rufous hummingbird, iridescent throat catching morning light, darted past. Her pencil hovered, heart pounding. 3 weeks ago, she'd been drowning in headlines about wildfires, her morning coffee tasting like guilt. Now this, tracking urban migrants for a community science project, her scribbles part of something bigger. She'd started small, counting crows her bird feeder, jotting notes with shaky hands. But today, gutsy move. Creator had hauled her creaky self downtown dawn to map a rare Swainson's thrush sighting, its song weaving through skyscrapers. A passing cyclist smirked. Bird watching? Cute hobby. She'd clenched her notebook, spine straightening. Not a hobby, a rebellion. Then disaster. Fumbling for a phone to snap proof, Creator knocked over a thermos. Hot tea splashed across pages, smudging ink. A groan escaped. Classic. But as she blotted mess, laughter bubbled up. Perfection wasn't point. She grabbed a fresh page, sketching frantic circles around Thrush's location. Turns out, chaos breeds magic. That tea-stained notebook page went viral when a local ecologist shared it at a farmer's market meetup. This sheet announced, holding it aloft, shows urban corridors we never knew migrants used. Suddenly, Martha's shaky maps were projected on screens, her name in newsletters. Skeptical neighbors now waved binoculars from balconies. Even scoffing cyclists showed up her next count, sheepishly asking for tips. Standing under a maple canopy weeks later, Martha watched kids crowd around her migration map, a collage of her notes, now color-coded and studded with pushpins. Someone cheered. Wind tugged her silver braid as she grinned. Who knew eco-grief could unravel into this? Notebook in hand, she wasn't just tracking birds. She was writing her own story, one scribbled observation at a time. And damn if it didn't feel like flying. Martha's 58-year-old knees protested as she crouched beside a rain-slicked curb, but her grin widened as she scribbled in her battered field notebook. Urban crow, third sighting this week, likely nesting near Old Bakery. What began as a desperate distraction from scrolling doom-filled headlines had become a lifeline. Seattle's concrete jungle hid a secret pulse. Sparrows dodging buses, hummingbirds sipping from dripping gutters, Even a lone heron stalking storm drains like a feathered philosopher. Her notebook, once a grocery list graveyard, now bloomed with ink-smudged maps tracking winged commuters. Farmer's market, she'd wave it like a manifesto. Bet you $5 that Junko's got a nest in Mrs. Kowalski's azaleas. She'd challenge kale buying crowd. Skeptics became converts when she guided them to spot telltale twigs or eggshell fragments. Soon, retirees and harried moms joined her rebel bird brigade, swapping binoculars for smartphone lenses, turning schoolyards and parking lots into data gold mines. Even barista who mocked her granola detective vibe now texted owl sightings. Eco-grief didn't vanish. It just got crowded out by purpose. Martha's notebook, now dog-eared and coffee-stained, birthed something bigger. A community-source migration map, its digital tendrils stretching citywide. Every scribble proved world wasn't just dying. It was adapting, resisting, thriving in cracks humans ignored. So here's Move, fam. Grab your notebook, or napkin, or phone, and log one wild thing today. Not for planet. For your stubborn, brilliant bird brain heart. Plot your hope.